All right, everyone. James McCann's house has been set on fire. There were a lot of there were survivors. There was tons of survivors, but we did get a picture of the scene. Welcome back, James McCann. Have fun in rehab, you fat shit. All right, welcome to Mets Weekly, presented by Empire Sports Media.
On 3-2, Bader swings and misses, strike three. He struck him out. 5 Met pitchers combined for the second no-hitter in New York Mets history.
All right, Frank, you can go ahead and introduce yourself because you're not here daily on this channel. So
Yes,
ahead.
I'm Frank About Sports. I'm on this channel every Sunday now doing Mets recaps, talking about, we do the good, the between, the bad, and all that, all those different things. So check that out on Sundays. I also have a video planned for my own channel, Frank About Sports, release hopefully sometime this weekend, about a player I think the Mets should be at least taking a look at least monitoring his market as we get closer to trade deadline season. We've seen some not pretty things, especially in the pitching department over the past couple of weeks. So always room for improvement when it comes to this Mets team, despite having the best record in the National League. So let's go Mets.
All right, Andrew, you can say whatever the hell you want to. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is my channel now. I'm kidding. Yeah, I did a reckless airwaves interview. Check that out on my Twitter. Like you said, me and the tub to my left do daily content Monday through Friday. Frank can come on occasionally, but Frank's old man. He's got old man priority, so that's why he gets the Sunday, and it makes sense. He's gonna upload a video on Father's Day, so that's a great mix to have him upload one on Sunday. But obviously, we've uploaded some videos about 50-50, 50% talking about the big league club, and we got some prospects. Obviously, we got with the 6 prospects under the radar. We talked a little bit Cleo Lee and Plum. I know both of them have played in the big leagues, but technically could still be kind of called minor leaguers because they haven't hit their footing yet. But of course, we always got more content coming out tomorrow. I'm not gonna spoil what tomorrow's video will be about, but that'll be out sometime tomorrow.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, guys, make sure to go to empiresportsmedia.com for all of your sports viewing needs. Tons of New York sports covered besides the Mets. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, let's just get into the Mets. I think we'll just start with full-on takeaways and just, move on. Frank, you can go on and see what you've seen this past week.
Yeah, I think yesterday was an example of I'm not really sure how to take it, how to put so much stock into it, but I feel like there's been a little too many games for my liking where the Mets lose by that wide of a margin with the other team scoring double-digit runs. You saw it; they lose 10-2. You had the 11-6 loss against the Angels on Saturday, the 13-2 loss against the Padres on Wednesday. I feel like we've seen a bit too many of these blow-up games for my liking. And the problem is it's always somebody different. One day it's Carrasco, one day it's Bassett. This particular day, it was David Peterson and Jake Reed. One day it's Joely. Like, you just see like all these different blow-ups where the Mets are just completely out of it. And I don't want to see that kind of scenario happen in a playoff game or in a game that's really important where just all of a sudden the team is getting absolutely bombed. I just think for a team that has the best record in the National League that they shouldn't have this many games where they lose by such a wide margin of runs. And we're seeing it at least 2 times a week around there. It's just more for my viewing pleasure, more than I'd like to see that.
I mean, wouldn't you prefer them to get blown out because then you can go to bed earlier?
Well, in the West Coast games, yeah. But last night, I mean, that was just pain.
And the benefit and the addition of, oh, yeah, you're going to get blown out and you got to face Corbin Burns. So have fun with that. So, obviously that lined up kind of bad, perfectly for the Brewers to an extent.
I think we've seen a lot of these blowouts. I don't know, mainly just because you don't have your top 2 right now. We just did a video about that yesterday about the return of Jake and Max. But I think it's just the rotation right now. It's hurting. They can't really be that team that, goes full on forward as a World Series contender without those top two guys. And they can get by and they still can play winning baseball, but they still need those two guys back. The season, it's all hanging in the balance of going to the next step and pushing even farther and being even better with the return of Jake and Max. Like, that's literally what we are banking on right now. And even though this team probably can do well, maybe win a few playoff games, it's not where we want to be right now. But other than that, I think I want to bring up one bright spot that was kind of overshadowed by last night that really, really kind of sucked. But Chris Bassitt, what a bounce back outing. Who would have saw that coming, right? This guy, I've seen this guy do this so much in his career, and he's had these rough patches before, and he shoves even through all of it. And that's one thing I really like about Bassitt, is that he's not one to dwell on the past. He flushes it, and he doesn't let anything get to his head. Unlike some of the other pitchers that we've had these last few years that let it get to their head and pretty much explode on the mound. I'm talking to you, Steven Matz. I'm also talking to you, David Peterson. We've seen that happen a lot with him. But other than that, I think anything that we can add on Chris Bassitt, I think it was a big moment for him, but I don't think he's even dwelling on this start either. I think he's just moving forward, and he looked great the other night, and I'm happy because he's one of my guys from Oakland. So anything we can add on?
I think one of the interesting things about it was that Buck really pushed him as much as he could, going 109 pitches, pitching 8 innings to really save up the bullpen, because, the bullpen, they had a rough time out west. You had the day off on Monday. So it was a bit surprising that despite having a fully rested bullpen, that they still gave Jake Reed the leash that they did, when it was very obvious how this guy was struggling right from the get-go. I think that when you have a fully rested bullpen, you maybe want to go to, if Trevor Williams was your next guy up, or just somebody else a little quicker. So I feel like in some sense, it kind of wasted that start that Bassitt had, because you pushed Bassitt that much just to get through and rest up the bullpen, but you didn't really make the best use out of it. And I wouldn't be in such a rush to push somebody like Chris Bassitt when he's the only big dog we got left, with DeGrom and Scherzer being out. You can't lose Bassitt too. So I just thought that was very interesting, the way Buck handled that and how much he pushed Chris Bassitt on a regular season game in June.
Also, like I said, only using Drew Smith again. Now you have off day on Monday too, so now you have 2 pretty much days off your entire bullpen minus Drew Smith, who threw the 9th, and then obviously you threw your garbage guys yesterday. So now, and also the score probably, yes, he went to Jake instead of maybe going to Ottavino or someone like that in the 5th inning. So he went to Jake. It didn't work, and obviously the outlook again, them getting blown out sucks. But it's kind of the benefit is one, the bullpen, especially coming off that West Coast trip, was used a lot. There was I used a couple of blowouts, but yet they had some starts where they were used every day, back-to-back days, 2 days in a row. Nobody really went 3 days in a row. So now you had 3 days now. Your bullpen is well rested, and you do have some, again, hopefully, the Diamond after this Brewers series tonight, the Marlins should be a lesser task. Knock on wood, they always seem to play like the damn 86 Mets against the Mets, but you have a softer schedule before Houston, obviously, next week. So, I get it. Yeah, you would have liked game close, obviously, McNeil homers. So you're you're down by 2, and then Jake Reed just comes in and just shits the bed, which obviously, you don't want to see that. And obviously, Peterson started the inning, and then he fell short, and then Jake came in and kind of just imploded. And you're just at the situation, if you're Buck, why, and you saw the score of the game, why use your big guys? Let Trevor Williams, like I said, maybe they should have went straight to Peterson to Williams, like we said a couple of shows ago. They should have been a tag team. One goes, the guy's next, depending if, let's say, hey, if Peterson were to give you 5 to 6 innings, then you don't do the tag team. But hell, if he's coming out in the 3rd inning, 3rd or 4th, boom, you can get 3 and 3. So you can save those guys. You don't have to use a Jake Reed. But again, obviously now the bullpen is fully rested. We haven't seen Diaz since Sunday. So now you've had 3 days off for Diaz. Lugo hasn't been used since Sunday as well, right? Lugo went in the Sunday night game, right?
Yes, he did.
So you have and obviously Drew Smith pitched on Monday, so he's now has a day off. So your bullpen is, and again, I would prefer to keep the bullpen as well as possible, especially we know that stretch coming up. I know it's June, so it's still early for stretching Bassett, but I loved it. I love that's the old school manager in Buck saying, hey, I know, like I said, you want to keep him healthy, but he was cruising. And Buck said, you know what? Even after an off day, if I could save my bullpen an extra inning, I was all for it. And I was debating with my dad watching the game. Like, is he coming out for the 8th? Because, like I said, he was at like 95 pitches through 7. So we're like, is he going to go back out for the 9th, especially not the 9th, in the 8th in today's game? But I loved it. I thought it was, cool. And it's that old school mentality. He said, hey, you've pitched this way. And he didn't have anybody up either. Like, it was like, yeah, you're going to get the 8th inning. And there was nobody was up. It was your inning to finish. And I like that from Buck. And it's then that old school mentality that, hey, you've earned this. You've pitched a hell of a game. You've earned the 8th. And he shut it down. And obviously now your bullpen's well rested. Obviously, hopefully you win tonight. You've got Megill. Hopefully can get you through 5. Obviously still coming off the injury. Second start back. So you hope to get 5. And then if you have a lead, you can go Otto and then Seth and Drew again to Diaz. You have it lined up perfectly if, everything goes well tonight, which again, the Brewers lefty on the mound for the Brewers. How the offense is against lefties, we'll see. But it also lines you up perfectly to win the series in Game 3, and then you're still well rested for Miami this weekend.
Bassett's a workhorse. That's just how he is. There's not really much that keeps him off of the mound besides probably the ball going straight at his face like last year. That's pretty much it. There's not really much that keeps him off of the mound. He pushes and he shoves and he tries as hard as he can to get that at least 6 innings, at least 7 innings. He's kind of like what Max Scherzer does, where he shoves and keeps going and keeps moving. No matter how many runs he does give up, he tries as hard to push that far and tries to save that bullpen for the next time when there's those kind of lesser arms like Taijuan Walker, who at one point could possibly get pulled after the first inning because we all know he's going to implode at 1 second. So all I can say is that Bassett, there's not really a short leash with him. He's got the long leash. Like, let him get the innings that he gets. And that's something that is something that's very confidence boosting for him. And that's something that I think that will continue to go. And he's one of the guys that I do trust could pitch 170 innings, 180 innings this year, because that's the type of guy he is. He can be that type of Max Scherzer to give you length. They're not the same pitcher, but he can push. That's something that he does. And that's something that I really like about him because he can give you length and he's got great stuff. But other than that, I think last night's game, I think the decision was there's runners on base, bring in Jake Reed, the submariner, to get a ground ball and end the inning. That was what they were looking to do. To be honest, if you're looking for a ground ball, the guy to go to is Ottavino. So I don't know what he was going with on that. Maybe it's just the long haul of the West Coast trip that they're still trying to get into the swing of things and they're trying to rest the bullpen as much as they can and, a little bit of bulk. But definitely a questionable decision because they were still in that game when Peterson left. So
I would say my vision that I had for Jake Reed, if he is right, that was the kind of scenario I wanted him in because, like I said, I always wanted to use Jake Reed as a Tampa Bay Ray kind of pitcher where you show a different look. If you're facing a left-handed pitcher and David Peterson for the first couple times around the lineup, and then the next time around you face a right-handed pitcher who's a submariner, I mean, that's a completely different look. Now the Hitters have to completely readjust their game plans, get a totally different rhythm compared to what they faced the first couple times around the lineup. So in my perfect vision, that'd be the time to use Jake Reed. But when he's throwing like that and just hitting batters and walking batters, then he really doesn't serve much of a purpose. And it put Trevor Williams in a very tough spot. But And then the other risk you run with Ottavino, if you bring him in with runners on base, is that at any time that ball could be headed straight for the backstop. So that's always something to keep in mind when it comes to using Otto. But it really didn't work out. And there was even a time where David Pearson, I can't remember which start it was off the top of my head, but he went almost 100, maybe even 100 pitches, one of his starts this year. So Buck definitely has shown more of an old school mentality when it comes to letting the starting pitchers pitch. So that definitely has been a welcome relief. But I always think it's something just with how freaking fragile guys are nowadays, always be careful with, because we don't have too many more pitching injuries.
Yeah. We saw that Scherzer. Yeah, we saw Scherzer is.
Say that with your window closed. Watch it.
Facts.
But other than that, I think we can talk a little bit about Jake and Max, because Frank, you weren't here for our video.
And
obviously they are progressing well. Max is probably, on a faster schedule. He's obviously, it gets you a little nervous since he's 37 years old, but that's just the type of adrenaline that he builds up and what he's done for his entire career. So, I mean, do you have any type of different timetable as to what we've explained, or?
I mean, I think you could see Max Scherzer within the next 2 weeks, honestly. I mean, this guy is just built so different, and he is so aggressive that he wants to be okay, I threw my sim game. What's next? I want to do a rehab start. Okay, what's next? I want Max Scherzer is determined and doing everything possible to get back. I mean, they're taking it slow with DeGrom. There is no taking it slow with Max Scherzer. He only knows one speed. That's all out. So I know he's 37. I know but Max is different. You don't tell Max Scherzer, oh, we're gonna take it light, work your way back. Max Scherzer is that's not flying, bud. I'm coming back. I'm pitching, so I'll see you in a couple weeks.
There's not many guys that are getting paid $40+ million who would just say hey,
oh no,
I'm getting paid a lot of money, but I'm shoving. I don't care, man.
And Max Scherzer is those guys. He's kind of one of a kind. When it comes to injury timetable and rehabs, there's your traditional pitcher, how you work them back, and there's Max Scherzer, who's just on a different level where he's nah, I'm coming back. So I would not be surprised if we do see Scherzer on the major league mound pitching for the Mets within 2 weeks.
What is the possibility that he throws a sim game, does a rehab start, and does a start in the same day? Does an actual MLB start? He's just okay, let's pitch today. Who cares? Whatever. What are the odds that actually happens?
Because DeComo tweeted, he said the plan is rehab assignment Tuesday. Could be one more start, could be more, but when he gets to the point he's capable of 75 pitches, Scherzer said, quote, give me the ball. So, I mean, it could be pretty soon.
Yeah, so all I can say is that, he's just a workhorse, and that's the same thing what we just talked about with Bassett. They just shove and they keep going. And there's not really much. Obviously there is precaution because that's just how pitchers are these days. But we've got some really postseason type of grind, push through type of guys in this rotation to back up the best pitcher in baseball. We're not even talking about Jake in that matter. And that's what I really like, is that we have a lot of guys that can just completely shove, and they work off of that adrenaline, and they come for you. They grind you till they break, as Chris Bassett would say.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that is kind of concerning about Scherzer, you like that he's that kind of mentality, but that's what got him hurt last year with the Dodgers. That this guy, and even with the Nationals, he almost got hurt too. He pushes it to a level that really is just not a good idea. But you'd rather have a guy that's willing to literally his arm will fall off. You have a guy that's willing to do that than a guy that's oh no, I can't go more than 3 days rest. I can't pitch, you want a guy like that in a do or die game where he's literally giving you everything possible, more than a lot of other pitchers would.
When he's not crying about his kneecap, like Taiwan Walker.
There you go. All right. No, it
is made of baloney. So
I don't want to pitch to Ramos.
I need extra rest. I can't face the Mets.
Oh,
I can't believe that.
That's crazy. That's still crazy.
I actually want to talk about the video you guys did today, because I want to kind of add on to the discussion. When you're talking about like major league roster spot, fourth outfielder, the bench in total, you have Nick Plummer. Clearly is in the conversation. But my question is, how does JD Davis, and more importantly, how does Mark Vientos work into that conversation? And I think what my take has always been, whether it's Plummer, whether it's Khalil Lee, JD Davis, it's so hard to evaluate these guys because they just don't get the consistent playing time. I said it when Plummer hit the home run against the Phillies, and then he had the good game the next day. Why did this guy not come back into the starting lineup until a few days later? I just thought it was a big shot to his confidence. It was a big shot to his rhythm. And I just wanted to see more of, okay, give Nick Plummer everyday opportunities and see what you have. Because you've seen that with JD Davis. Once Dom was gone and JD played every day, you saw a much better JD Davis. So I just wonder, how do they manage this? Because we saw JD was gone for a couple of days. He's back in the lineup tonight. Nick Plummer's now getting back-to-back starts. But Mark Vientos is just destroying the baseball right now on the AAA level, hitting a lot of home runs, which I wouldn't mind seeing some home runs in this current Mets lineup. So it just comes to the point where it's like, how do you manage these guys and get I don't think there really is a scenario where you can get all these guys the amount of playing time that they need to all be effective. Because what about Canna? What about Marte, Nimmo? It's really tough to manage all those different guys. So I just wonder, how do they factor into that Khalil Lee, Nick Plummer discussion?
Well, first of all, JD, Vientos, Eduardo Escobar, and Khalil Lee are all going to Cleveland for J-Ram. That's the first part, okay? Now, the thing is that we've talked about, and this is probably a future video where we talk about kind of like retooling this bench for the trade deadline.
Yeah.
I know Andrew talked about this on Reckless. Guys, go check that out. Yeah, go ahead, check that out. But other than that, I think very stupid. But other than that, I mean, retooling this bench is something that you're going to have to look at. I think Guillorme's playing so well when he's getting playing time. I don't think there's really much where he actually moves.
He's another guy that's also in that conversation too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think overall, JD Davis, you've always had that question of if he actually does have a spot on this team. It's kind of been answered with Dom Smith going down. What do they do with Dom Smith? What do they do with, JD Davis? I mean, are we going to DFA Taijuan Walker? I mean, I don't know. But, like, I just think that personally, you probably could go. It's possible that you can go a 5 to maybe 6 man bench if that is
they
actually
are
possible.
instituting the 13 pitchers in the middle of June. So, I mean,
Yeah,
you could see another
because
player.
when you get Jake and Max back, you can have more long relievers in there with David Peterson in the bullpen, who does great there. And then you can have Adonis Medina called up for Yohan Lopez, who I don't know why he's here. Tommy Hunter can give you length. So you can subtract one of the arms in the bullpen, even though you can never have enough pitching, to have an extra bench of different guys that you can do that. But I'd say that like I don't it's hard to say because maybe if it's a bigger bench, then you're also facing the same problem of who's going to get the more consistent playing time.
Because no matter what, there's still only 9 spots in the lineup.
There is only 9 spots in the lineup. I mean, Canna doesn't start every day. He should, but he does not start every day. That was kind of a thing that happened with Oakland where he was kind of just like a 2 out of 3 guy. Speaking of Canna, we'll talk about him leading off in a second. But other than that, I mean, is Eduardo Escobar an everyday player? But I mean,
that doesn't really help with Plummer and Lee. I mean, for Vientos maybe, but then again, it's like, do we
platoon thing?
Yeah, do we
like
want Vientos to be a
Giants
third baseman or DH? That's the issue I think is in hand. Unless they can trade JD. I mean, I think that's the easiest solution is you trade JD and then you just have Vientos take over, and that's it.
A lot of things can be solved by trading JD, but he's still fucking here after like 3 years. So, I mean,
And I like him too. And that's the same. I do like.
I
JD
do
Davis,
like him.
but-
He's a good hitter. He's a frustrating hitter,
Yeah.
but he's a good hitter.
Well, Mets fan,
defender? No.
what he's like. I'm not gonna say it on stream, but you know what JD
Blue balls.
Davis
Yeah,
is
exactly.
like.
Blue.
Hits the
Go
ball
ahead.
really hard and you think, oh, the definition. JD Davis is that. But like you said, I've said it in past streams.
He's
you won't see
Eric
Vientos.
Campbell with launch angle. Yes,
It's like-
we know.
No, not that. Well, yes, but I've said it on stream with speaking about Vientos. He's not coming up here until JD is gone because they do the same exact thing. They both suck defensively, but they hit, one hits fat nukes, one hits line drives that you get excited for and then die at the warning track. There's the difference. One hits him over the fence, but, still solid contact, but he over the fence. The other one doesn't. But again,
I think about
the
this.
point with
I mean,
what?
go ahead.
Oh, because like the fourth outfield spot again, it has to be kind of, and I don't think you're going to see this until next year, which that's probably when next year. Like they'll be more with the Giants and the Dodgers, but like you have your right-handed lineup where these guys play against righties, and then you have a left-handed lineup because that's what the bench needs to be. And this Mets bench just sucks, and maybe the players are good on it, but they don't have that.
It's not a good fit with
no. It's not
who their starters are.
Yeah. Like you have your everyday guys, Pete, Lindor, Nemo if he's here next year, Marte. Those are the four guys that are in McNeil. Those are the five guys. Those other four spots, at third base, you can have Escobar platoon with somebody. They're there. And that fourth out, that left field spot, you can have Canna platoon with a guy that kills righties and Canna plays against lefties. Am I missing any other positions? And then the DH spot, you can have your left-handed DH and then your right-handed DH. With Plummer and Lee, it's kind of the point of kind of what Dom was doing with speed and defense. And I think Khalil Lee has the speed and defense part, but Plummer has the bat ups, the consistent bat upside, which is the why we value, me and Mets fan both like Plummer more than Khalil Lee. But Khalil Lee can do the Travis Jankowski role with more power. The problem is he just doesn't make any contact. If he doesn't make enough contact to be like, hey, you can give him an AB. I think I would prefer Lee over Jankowski at the plate because, Jankowski does little drag bunts. And yes, Khalil Lee is going to strike out a ton, not make a lot of contact. But when he does make contact, it can go a long way. But if you want to use Khalil Lee, that pinch runner, if, let's say they don't bring Jankowski back next year, I am completely fine with him just being that, hey, we need a guy with speed, steal second base, be that. Because, again, he stole 53 bases in 2019. He has the ability to steal bases. So I think that would be his role, where Plummer would be maybe, if, using of the two, would be more of a platoon with Canna if he were to establish himself in the big leagues, where he can be the right-handed hitter he'll play against righties, Canna can platoon against lefties, Canna gets lefties, Plummer gets righties. But again, that all, like you said, all has to deal with can they solidify themselves in the big leagues, which, maybe the Mets don't do that. Maybe they go out and add a guy like Jock at the deadline or at the offseason and say, hey, that's the kind of guy we need, righty, Canna's in left, or whoever. I always just say Jock. That's like the first guy in BR I think about who murders right-handed pitching. Okay, that's the type of guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it's hard for Nick Plummer to eventually establish himself if he never gets that consistent playing time. And that's the whole point. It's like, how do you establish these guys and build these guys up if the playing time is just so inconsistent for all of them? And I do wonder that once Jankowski is eligible to be active, will the Mets activate him? Because, like you said, it's like I feel like I get Khalil Lee at least with some potential as well. So that's just my concern. Because Jankowski, listen, I love the speed, but the guy couldn't hit the ball at the infield. I mean, it's just the bunts, they're cool. I love bunts, but eventually it's just not sustainable. It gets kind of old and people catch on.
And it's going to, the words that this show seems to hate, if you want to establish them, you're going to have to rely on young players. I know this show has been like, oh, no, you can't pencil in a prospect for anything. Maybe not specifically Frank. I don't know. Frank's maybe in the middle of that phrase. But if they end and say, hey, you're not going to go out and add a veteran, you're going to have to depend on, are you going to willing to do that? Right now, especially with,
it's hard to on this particular team when you have the payroll you do.
Yeah.
I said that all off season that we can't really be doing experiments when you sign the Max Scherzer to that deal, the money you gave Lindor and DeGrom, and DeGrom is expiring free agent. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, let's see if a prospect can maybe work out. It's like, no, we need established guys who have major league experience, major league success at just about every single position. I mean, when you're that kind of payroll, that's the kind of mindset that you have.
I mean, every World Series team can have a rookie there.
They
be an
can,
impact
but
player.
I mean,
Absolutely.
can you rely on them to be the starter on opening day? That's where it gets kind of tricky.
It's the risk that you take. I mean, that's just literally just the risk that you take with pretty much everyone if someone can actually perform.
And the thing is that Vientos is the only guy that is a top 5 prospect on this team. Like Khalil Lee, no one really has high expectations for him. Nick Plummer, he just got here, so we don't really know what to make of him quite yet because the inconsistency with the Cardinals. But Vientos is the guy that we're saying, like, we know at some point this guy is going to be a meaningful contributor. And I wonder, it's like, how much more does he have to do before it's like, okay, he gets the call, and it's like, let's see what you got, kid. Especially the power. I mean, that's the thing that you really would love to see.
Yeah, we'll see. The George Springer swing. We're still waiting for him. There was speculation about him getting called up yesterday, about him tweeting that God was great, and everyone's saying that, like, oh, you're getting called up, Mark? And no, that had nothing to do with it.
Then he went on and hit 2 nukes that day.
We're ready for these we're ready for these kids to get called up. I really can't wait. Speaking of kids, we got to talk about it before this stream ever ends. Another video that we talked about during the week. Speaking of kids, we got to talk about Francisco Alvarez. You can't avoid it right now, where you're seeing so much progression with this guy defensively, just overall as a player. We all know he can destroy the baseball.
And that's all we care about.
Do we give Nick Dini a chance, or do we just bring up Francisco Alvarez right now?
Next.
Frank, what do you think about that?
I mean, listen, you know how I feel about Francisco Alvarez. So whenever you want to call him up, I'm ready for him, man. I've been sitting here waiting patient, thinking about it every day, just dreaming of the day when he's here behind the plate, hitting fat nukes and just doing his thing, being all swaggy and just an absolute unit back there. So, but I've said, I feel on a previous stream, at least let you call him up and let him be the DH and see what you got. They have to, at minimum, call him up to AAA. I mean, because he's doing so well in AA, let him go to the next step and see how he does. And if he continues to show that, listen, I'm better than this, AA is not enough for me, AAA is not enough for me, I'm ready for the big leagues. If you prove that, why not? I mean, we just had the conversation. It's like, is it Plummer? Is it JD? Maybe Vientos? Like, who's the DH? Like, we don't have that solidified guy. So since that spot of the lineup is still technically open, I wouldn't mind seeing Francisco Alvarez get a crack at it. And then he can make some occasional catching starts. Just some occasional ones. Because like we said, is he worse than Patrick Mazeika? Probably not. He's at least equal, most likely better, if what they're saying is true with the leaks, that this guy has shown big-time improvements defensively behind the plate. If that's the case, I mean, why not? I just feel like he is a guy that has so much hype behind him that if you called him up, I feel like this would just be a shot of adrenaline right into the team and just be like another guy that's like, oh my gosh, he's here. And the crowd would be so excited that I feel like he'd really give this offense a very nice push. That it's like, okay, we're ready to go. We're really ready to compete. So if they want to do it, like I said, at least come up to AAA. If he proves himself there, the catchers continue to struggle. Nobody else is establishing themselves at DH. I don't see why not. I mean, because if the defense has improved, what's the excuse to not call him up?
I mean, it's not like there was a top 10 prospect last year.
I'd say that the only excuse that you're looking at is he's 20 years old. That's pretty much all you're looking at.
And it's like Andrew said, Juan Soto got called up young. Look how he turned out. He turned out pretty good. So,
well, he's
the guy in Seattle, guy in Houston.
Speaking of Francisco Alvarez, he just homered again. So
I mean, he's like
man in the building.
What more does he have to do?
Bro, and he's sending a message to McChicken. He's like, I'm coming for
and
you.
James McCann's 0 for 1. What a fucking shot.
What a surprise.
Right. He's ready to go.
All right. So
They hit a ground
Ding
ball.
dong for Alvarez. I want to see the replay of that off stream, obviously. But Beatty's up right now, and Ziegler is pitching in St. Lucie.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, other than that, I think I do want to see one of the Mayer or Dini be one of the backup guys of the future, because they are a little bit older and can be like a veteran type of guy. But if James McCann is already being rushed back, I think he's being rushed. I don't think he should be playing injured. I think that he should be resting for another 6 months. And, just we'll see. Now, Nick Mayer, great, overall, catcher, great balanced overall catcher defensively. Can't really hit. Nick Dini,
So we don't need to
great
say
two-way catcher. Great two-way catcher. Shut up. No. Great. No. Nick Dini, great two-way catcher. He's had some great offensive performances throughout the last 3 years in the minors. So, and in AAA. He can hit in AAA. Unlike Francisco Alvarez, we don't know if he can. So maybe he's a chump. We don't know.
Again, with the way Mazika has been playing, I'll give it a try. Why not?
Oh, you.
What about Hayden Senger?
Yeah, no.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. It's Alvarez. The only catcher that's getting called up in the big leagues is Francisco Alvarez. There's no other option. We don't care. Hayden Senger, freaking Nini, whatever the hell the other guy's name is. If a catcher's coming up from the farm, it starts with an F, first name F, last name A, and Mini Fridge is the nickname. That's it. No one else.
Or
trade for Wilson.
You cannot be an idiot.
If you're not calling up Alvarez, trade for Wilson Contreras.
Or you cannot be an idiot and be careful with the catcher position and see what he's got in AAA.
Nah, I don't care about
and see what you've got with all the other catchers.
We don't care. If he's swinging, forward. If he hits, we don't care about just catch the ball. We don't care about framing. Just keep the ball in front of you and hit fat nukes. That's all we care about. We have Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. They're pretty accurate. They don't need framing help. And Chris Bassitt. Just hit nukes.
So they can just.
They don't need they're so accurate. Why? Dude, we're talking about.
Listen, Salvador Perez.
So accurate, they're so accurate that they can just throw the pitch down the middle. We're fine. We're fine. They don't need to paint the corners at all. There's no element of surprise. Just throw the pitch down the middle, and that's it. We don't need that. That's it. Even though Jacob deGrom, most of his success is out of the strike zone. But hey, whatever. Anyways, what I do want to talk about, which is a very interesting topic. Now, Lindor might be the biggest bust of all time. That's all I got to say. Have you seen his last 3 at-bats?
Facts.
Not worth that contract. I think they got to trade him. That's the
still
first
top 5 in RBIs, but bad.
Who cares? But other than that, I think we've seen. I think. What was I gonna say? Oh,
James McCann
Mark
does
Hanna
look good
leading off today. This is Mark Hanna leading off today. That was what I was going to talk about. I was forgetting that, so that was why I was stalling. So Mark Hanna is leading off today. Now, he is facing a lefty who he's been known to kill in the past. This year, he hasn't been the best at it. Now, he's been good against lefties in his career. But
in his career, yes, but this year, not so much.
This year, not so much. Not really anybody has really been doing much against left-handed
hitters. Who's been decent against lefties this year? Escobar.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe, but he's actually
Escobar has been one of the best guys against left-handed pitching this year. Why is he not in the lineup? Well,
because Vientos got called up and the 7 line got rid of Escobar.
Well, they benched Mauricio today. Sorry. Cool.
But other than that, I think right now when you look at it, I like Cano leading off. I really do. I like him as the main guy to be at the top of the lineup and just put in a quality at bat and wear guys down. Nimmo wants to put the ball in play now. He's not the guy that like, okay, I'm going to draw my walk. He wants to put the ball in play now. So you know what? Let him do it, I say. Let him do it. And him in the 2 spot, Nimmo's going to do well wherever you put him. So that's something in general. Now, one thing I am a little concerned about is Tomas Nido in the 8 hole. I don't think there's really any possibility where he belongs there. Not
Where
even
do
with
you
the
put him,
pitcher
though?
actually batting.
Exactly. You got nowhere else to put it.
I put Plummer higher.
Well, I was going to say, would you consider swapping Guillorme and Plummer, have Guillorme bat 9th and do like kind of double leadoff kind of thing? Because you go Guillorme, Canna, Nimmo back to back to back. That's not fun. I mean, that is
fun.
Pitch count galore right there. So,
yeah, I think one of the best lineups, I think, is something that just comes like out of the fly with this team because there's so many different combinations that you can do. You have your everyday lineup, Nimmo, Martay, Lindor, but when Martay is out, he's day to day. Hopefully he gets back. Fuck Corbin Burns for that. He was up 10-2.
yeah, I was going to rant about
Screw that guy. First of all, we'll talk about that in a second. But other than that, I think you can put in a lot of combinations, and I really want to see them, switch these things in and out because you've had some good production from the guys off the bench when they are playing. Like we talked about, they're not getting enough playing time, but I do want to see what they do with different combinations when certain guys get down or some guy has like this, occasional hamstring pull or occasional sore shoulder. There's a lot of experiments that you can do to produce a lot of offense. And that's one of the benefits of having a lot of table setters on this roster. But other than that, Corbin Burns yesterday up 10-2. And I doubt it was on purpose, but if it was on purpose, screw you, seriously. But when you look at it, the Mets have gotten hit so many fucking times this year that is this on purpose? Is it just we're ball magnets? But that was the same spot that was almost the same spot that Alonso got hit on, which was like a complete scare for 48 hours. Everyone was curled up in a ball, waiting, is our main guy going to be okay? So, I mean, anything else we can add on the Mets? I mean, just getting hit constantly. I mean, there's just it comes to a point where what's going on? You know what I mean?
I've said this before that before Martay and Canna got here, they were already 2 guys that were known for getting hit by pitches a lot. And we already knew that Pete and Nimmo get hit a lot. We know Jeff McNeil, JD Davis, they get hit quite frequently with pitches. But my thing was that I don't think Corbin Burns intentionally hit Starling Martay. But my thing is, why was Corbin Burns throwing inside to Starling Martay in a 10-1 game? That's a bit unnecessary. Why are you putting the other team at jeopardy or putting a player at risk when you're up 10-1? Shouldn't that be an unwritten rule? We have all these things. Oh, you can't swing 3-0. Oh, you can't steal base if it's a certain score. Well, maybe there should be a rule. You can't throw high and tight to a guy if you're up by 9 runs and you're supposed to be one of the best pitchers in the National League. You shouldn't have to throw up and in on a guy when you're up 9 runs. And what bothers me is that Buck Showalter, he's been so going crazy and everything. He said nothing to Corbin Burns. He said nothing to Craig Counsell. I was like, and what bothers me too is that Yohan Lopez, the one thing he's good at is almost hitting people in the head. So you called up Yohan Lopez and you're down 10-1. You didn't even bring him in to hit anybody or almost hit anybody. So what's the point of even calling up Yohan Lopez if you're not going to bring him in to be the sacrificial lamb to hit somebody? So it just really bothered me that there was no reason to be pitched up and into a guy when you're up 10-1. He didn't try to hit Marte, but they didn't even need to pitch inside. And the Mets, they hit Urias, but Jake Reed and all those guys were all over the place. So it was just so frustrating because Marte.
Yeah, and that was what I was gonna say. If you need guys to hit someone last night, David Peterson and Jake Reed pretty much had you covered. To be fair, but you called up Yohan Lopez, who's known for just being an asshole and just throwing at people. Just like Roger Clemens' roid rage or something, just intentionally throwing at people.
One thing he's good at.
Anywhere near the I mean, he's a 2-pitch pitcher that's not that good. I don't know. Again, I don't know why he's here. Yeah. But we did call up Tommy Hunter today. Who is going down for
They
him?
still haven't announced it.
Jake
I'm
Reed.
guessing it's Jake Reed, but I haven't
It's gotta
seen
be
the
Jake
actual transaction. Because they also need to make a 40-man move too, I think.
DFA
Or-
Jake Reed.
Just
It's
go
Jake
put it-
Reed in every consent way.
Hmm.
It'll be him. Maybe Juan Lopez, but I would put money. It's probably gonna be Jake Reed.
I would think so, with the way last night went.
That was brutal. That was pretty brutal. I think I walked in and out of that room. I was watching that game about 3 times. The inning was still going. That's how long that was. What was the 5th inning, 6th inning?
5th inning.
I'm gonna be honest.
That
was
that,
watching
that was
AEW.
pretty brutal.
I didn't watch any of the
What's
game.
going on?
What's up,
Gio. LFGM is right. But Tylor Megill on the mound tonight. He had a relatively good outing in Los Angeles. And they give up the home run, but hey,
Fly ball's bad.
fly balls are bad, but I don't know if it's not a sweet spot, we're not concerned. But yeah, other than that, I mean, he came back thrown out of the gate, 99, 98. He looked like
it looked dipping a little bit as the start
it
progressed.
did end up dipping a little bit.
I think there was some
because
adrenaline going on.
Probably,
it's a full force type of thing with him. One thing I do want to add, he added a sinker. He has a sinker now, which is kind of weird. No. So, I mean, maybe is he trying to be a little bit more of a ground ball type of guy?
He needs
since
to.
He knows that he can run out of velocity real quickly. But like, I don't know. That was a pretty interesting type of thing, and you know, he's an ace, so we'll figure it out. So.
I would say my only concern with Megill heading into tonight is that he only threw 64 pitches on Friday. So I wonder what his pitch count is like tonight. I mean,
he rested bullpen. So
yeah, it's the other thing. I'd say
the thing is, it's not though, because you're one long reliever. You used them last night. So, and Tommy Hunter still isn't actually on the roster yet. So you don't really have a long reliever tag team like Megill, and you obviously don't have Peterson available to do that tonight. So I wonder, maybe like, is it Otto a couple innings? Is it Lugo a couple innings? So I just wonder what his pitch count is going to be like.
We're not going to get a double inning Lugo, are we?
I mean, who else is going to do it? I mean, here's my question. When's the next time Chasen Shreve is going to pitch?
Oh, God, I hope not. Just send him.
If that's the case, then why is he even here?
I don't know. He pitched what? L.A.?
Was
in
it
LA? Like the second game in LA?
In the blowout,
he got bombed in that one as well, I think.
Was he eating innings? Because maybe they're just like sitting him down.
He got shellacked. He gave the homer to Walsh, I think it was.
Yeah, with that, onto that topic of Chasen Shreve, actually, because we're just, going as we go. Yelich is leading off tonight. 80 days, sorry. But other than that, I think...
Yeah, he pitched against the Angels, gave up 3 runs.
Chasen Shreve, I think I've seen enough of him. Like, I really think I've seen enough. His main thing is to get soft contact and finesse with that splitter.
And giving up bombs.
And if the ball is going into the air, you're useless. Like, and that we've seen this happen so many freaking times in a row with this guy. I know Alex Claudio is vulnerable against right-handed hitters, but like...
So is Chasen Shreve.
Dude.
Like,
the problem is you get homers to lefties, too.
Yeah, Winker.
Yeah.
Winker, and then who's
like
Walsh
was
Winker destroys lefties.
Against the Phillies, it was Stubbs.
It was Stubbs, yeah.
Well, I mean, against the Phillies, it was Stubbs. He's lefty. Like, so he's giving a homers to lefties. So the thing that
like everything that he's good for, it's not happening. So like,
so
he's really
it just comes to what's his
pissing
role.
me off. And this is consistently happening. Like, it's not like, oh, one bad outing, he'll bounce back, he'll be fine. Now this is just consistently happening now. So I'm like, okay, has this guy just lost his touch? Has he run his course? We know it was a minor league contract. So like, is he really like a key part to this bullpen now? I mean, he was probably one of their top guys until he hit like this wall and he's just screwing up.
I just realized something else. Why the heck is Yohan Lopez here and Steven Nagosic isn't?
That'll
Steven
probably be a long
Nagosic
night.
says yes to walks.
Still better than
That's
Yohan
why.
Lopez.
Yohan Lopez throws strikes and he throws.
And he
balls
throws
at
a strike or
people's
throws at the person's head.
Hey, I
He
like
throws
it,
at the
bro.
person's head or throws it at the strike zone. All right. So
Sounds
he's
like Bob Gibson. I like it.
Sounds like Bob Gibson. Get off my plate, boy.
Get on the on deck, sir. I'll drill you even.
And it also stinks that we don't have. I was gonna say because it would be nice to have Nagosic because he can go multiple innings. We obviously don't have Holderman because he's hurt. He is a guy that can go multiple innings.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we did get good news on the Holder dog. It doesn't look to be that bad.
We also have good news on Trevor May, which you have not talked about it as well.
Well,
But
yeah.
everyone wants to just rule him out because he's, dingers are bad dingers. But
dingers are bad, yes. Fly balls are bad.
But yeah, somebody brought up, I saw something about Frankie Montas. I want to talk about that. And then I think we'll end it here and we'll watch the game off stream. And if there's anything crazy like a Megill no-hitter, which is obviously going to happen tonight, we might do a post game on Andrew's channel or something like that. But other than that, I think Frankie Montas, should he be a priority if it goes like, you still have the uncertainty with Jake and, there's always the extra arm. And, if you're trying to model out after the Dodgers when they added Max Scherzer and Trey Turner when they didn't even need them, still didn't win the World Series. Go fuck yourself, Dodgers. But Frankie Montas, is it something that's like the Mets should pursue? Like,
you want to go first?
GM, tell me what you think.
Go
ahead.
No. And I'm good. And there's a reason for it. I am not going after any of the big three because genuinely, I was listening to Rosenthal and Heyman. They do their podcast. I think it was Heyman, not Rosenthal.
Sherman.
It was, Sherman and what's it called? And then I heard Rosenthal say this on I think one of the Saturday Hawks games on Saturday. The price for pitching this year, after those big three, because there really is only three. Well, two. I know Frank likes the third one, and he's solid. But if you're talking game-changing pitching, there's only really two options, and it's Montas and Castillo. Even Castillo has bounced back a little bit this year. That is it. And then you're looking at guys like maybe a Corey Kluber from Tampa Bay. Then you go to Tylor Megill with the Reds. There is a huge drop-off from those two guys to the next group of whoever. Meaning, and especially last year, if the market is like last year and it's a seller's market, the offers that they're going to have, the price tag for a Frankie Montas, who is in a rental. This isn't a Scherzer. This is this year plus next year. I don't think, the Mets should use their assets on that. I said it in the reckless areas. I think the Mets need to focus on a Trevor Williams, Rich Hill, maybe a little bit better than those, but like that kind of depth starter. Because you can never have enough pitching. If the A's are brain dead stupid and they gave away Frankie Montas for a bag of chips and a box with a rat of peanuts, because A's Stadium loves giving away a box of peanuts with rats in it. If they want to take that from us, obviously jump on the opportunity. One, that's not going to happen because the Dodgers have been beat up. They're going to go want pitching. You look at some of the other contenders, they're going to need some more pitching. The Yankees probably be in that conversation. So it's not like, hey, this isn't like a Scherzer situation where he has a no-trade clause and he can kind of, push his way to wherever the hell he wants. This is open field. Anybody can trade for him. It's kind of like the price with Jose Barrios. I think it could be a Barrios-type package where you're going to give up an Austin Martin level and a Simone Wood-Richardson level for him because it's 1 + 1 year. So I don't want the Mets using their assets on that caliber. Yes, would I like them to add a starter? I would pivot to a Tylor Megill type. I said Trevor Williams, but like in the middle, a guy that can just give you innings in an emergency situation. If, Jake's not Jake, that's the kind of pitcher in the rotation I want. If they can get some depth guys, I'm all for it. I just think, the assets that they have, they need to hold on to. And maybe that's the prospect hugger in me. Oh, there comes the prospect hugger. Of course, he's going to keep the minor leaguers. The Mets are in a situation, and I know I made fun of the trade deadline. Yes, they're going to get the DeGrom and Scherzer back, and who knows? With those guys, I want them to add pitching. I just don't want to overpay for a Montas or a Castillo. I'd rather go in that tier 2 because if healthy, there are teams who need to have game 1 through 3 starters. When healthy, the Mets don't need a game 1 through 3 starter. They need other, some extra depth in the bullpen, maybe an extra depth starter, and the Mets should focus more on building again the bench and offense. So for me, Montas is a no unless the price for some reason is stupid cheap. Then yeah, but that's not going to happen. So I would say I'd call Oakland. I would see what the price is. But if you're saying it's starting with the top 3 guy, I'm hanging the phone up right then and there.
Well, as for Montas, I've gotten to watch him again. A's connection. I like the possibility of signing him as a free agent, giving up a top guy, like you said. Like it's going to be somewhat of a haul because of how the pitching market is. Montas, one thing that's always concerned me about him is that he can be a real head case when runners are on. I know that is something that is a problem with him. Complete opposite with Chris Bassitt. Complete opposite with Max Scherzer.
Yep.
So does he fit into this rotation? Maybe, but I'm not willing to do a full-on farm system risk for that. I think if there is a guy to go all in on, it's Luis Castillo, but again, another guy that like the walk problem. I don't like it. Other than that, I think we will close it out here. But first, I will read off something that DeComo said. I don't know if we've touched on it yet, but outfielder Starling Martay, who was hit by a 97-mile-an-hour sinker last night on his right forearm yesterday. He's out of the Mets lineup, but he is expected to be back there by tomorrow. So we'll see. We're still dodging injuries, guys. I mean, it's going to continue to go like this, I think. But if the theme is just hands, I mean, we've had Francisco Lindor, we've had Max Scherzer, we had Drew Smith, we have now Alonso, and now Marte. If it's just hand injuries that we're dodging, I think we're going to be okay. If that's going to be our June swoon, knock on wood again. But if that's going to be it, please, I'd be fine with that. Just no broken bones. That's it. But other than that, I think it's game time. So we're going to watch that off stream, and we're going to cut it short here. Any last words from anyone before we go away forever?
I don't know about forever, but let's see how tonight goes, and we'll go from there.
Other than that, I mean, it was tough to see our season end for the 23rd time last night. Hopefully it's not a 24th tonight. We're really panicking here. But don't worry. We'll hold off the Braves somehow. No one will worry. We've always done great against the Braves. Andrew, anything you want to say to close this one off?
Julio Rodriguez to the All-Star game.
Too bad Jeremy Pena's a better player than him.
No.
Frank?
No.
No, Jeff McNeil's at the All-Star game, please. I need it.
No.
Yes.
No.
And also vote James McCann as well.
Tell Marte's better. No, we are not. We are not voting James McCann to the All-Star game. It is not happening. Fuck all of you. No. I'm voting Patrick Mazeika in place of that. But other than that, yeah, we'll see you guys during the week. Obviously, me and Andrew do videos every single day from Monday through Friday. You'll have Frank on Sunday. You'll have Tony on Saturday regularly. And we'll see you guys next time. LFGM, game's about to start. Tylor Megill on the mound. So we'll see you guys next time.